Plasma agriculture. A new method of farming and agriculture through the use of the new Keshe plasma science and technology. Farming. Virus processing protects the life of farm animals by processing away the energy packages called viruses. Increase in fishery and farming products. Create the optimal conditions for farming to thrive. Reduction in growth time. The plants grow faster and stronger. Reduction in harvesting time. The earlier maturity time for harvest allows farmers multiple harvests per season. Extension of the shelf life of agricultural products. Increase in grain protein content without interfering with seed genes. Environment. Reduction of chemical agriculture inputs. No more fertilizers or pesticides. Progressive reduction of land nitrites and chemical contaminants clean and restore the environment. Decontamination of agricultural water from poison and metals. Health through food. Reduction in the use of chemical fertilizers or antibiotics in farming practices. Food nutrients in the crops are kept without the use of genetic modification. Improved health for people and environment. Plasma culture. Using the Keshe plasma science and technology, the environment creates and provides to the plants exactly what and how much they need to prosper. Reduction in use of groundwater in agricultural systems. As the energy is absorbed from the environment, a plant does not need that much water to create its own food and energy to grow. Greater crop tolerance to temperature variation. The possibility to grow crops in any climate at any time of the year. Non-GMO. Use of the newly discovered natural state of matter known as GANS plasma water. Allow the natural growth and development of agricultural products. Use of non-GMO agriculture process, proven through governmental tests. Financial security for farmers. Simplify the methods and processes requiring less effort from farmers. More than 30% increase in crop yields. Increase in income for farmers. Global change. Eliminate famine worldwide. Increase national and global food security. Contact us. Visit our website for the brochure in your language.
One of the things to consider when we speak about going to space is what do we define the space as? And what do we see or what we consider as a space? We take a space in our physical body on this planet, and at the same time, within the structure of our physical body, there is another dimension of life which we call the soul of the man. And even though it lives within the space dimensions of the body of the man, has its own life and has its own line of communication. And what we define space, going to space, we already know the inner sanctum or the creator of our physicality travels the depth of the universe. has been in space travel all the time, has a line of communication with other parts of us, be it through dream we call it, or through subconscious, some people they call it, or we have the choice that physically move the physicality with its soul. In a way, we have a bird caged in the physicality of the body of man, and that bird is called the soul of the man. We can open that cage and let it loose at the point of death. When the operation of this cage rots away, and it cannot hold together, and this beautiful bird becomes free. Still, it takes life in the universal dimension, because it has a life. It exists on its own. Or we can carry the cage in a box and take it anywhere. I can take a bird cage in the car, I can take a bird cage in my hand and walk around the park. It doesn't change the entity and existence of that bird. It's still a bird, still sings, still communicates with other birds in the park. And this is how our soul is. So we give option. Those who understand the process of the creation can take that cage, that bird, out of the cage and free it, because we trusted it come back in. It's very much when you have a parrot at home, you open the door, you let him fly around the house, and he comes back again and he goes in the cage. Because you trust it. It knows that's where it belongs to. And this is the process that we have made an option to man. The soul of the man is that bird, but is encaged in physicality of body of man. And for the first time, man knows, man can see that it's him who hasn't trusted the bird to be freed. And it has come the time that he does not need to see the cage to break up, to rust, that the bird can fly out, or by accident open the cage's door is open and the bird flies out. That accident is when we die on the street. The bird cage opens up. That bird still gets freed. But now we are teaching how the man has control over this door of the cage. And he trusts that the soul will come back to the body. Or the bird will stay, that it can create that atmosphere of the home, the cage. This is the problem we have, and this is what we call it different ways of traveling. But to be able to free that bird without accident, or when the cage cracks, rust, and we call it death, we are teaching how to be able to control, to trust that that bird, when we release it, can come home, or can make a home that we can go to. When my children were young, 4 or 5 years old, they wanted a bird, a cockatoo. I bought them a cockatoo. And this bird in the cage was very young, few weeks old when we got him. And we used to let it free in the house. He knew he goes back in and he sleeps there and he lays egg there. And it came to the point, because of the diseases carried, we had to, the doctors told us, this bird cannot stay in the house because it's causing problem in the house, health problems. So we decided that we loved the bird. We didn't want to let it go, it was part of us. So we decided if we let it free, it will die, because he didn't know how to look after himself, because he was hand fed. We decided we take him to sanctuary and we give it to sanctuary to be kept. We carry the cage across a park, and as we were walking to go to the sanctuary in the park to be given to them, an old lady saw us. She says, "Oh, what a beautiful bird." We said, "We have a problem, we love him, but if you leave him here, we don't know if you see him." She says, "I'll look after it, give it to me. You can come and see it anytime you like." And it was just like a gift. So we got the old lady in the car, we went to her house, we put the cage there, we showed them how to look after the bird, and the bird was free again in the room. And every now and then, children said, "Papa, can we go and see him?" So we called the lady, we go and see him, and the bird is there. And it was a new home, it was our home. And this is how the soul of the man should be. Is trusting that where he goes, he can make a home for us. So in this process, we are teaching different ways of freeing the bird or carrying the cage. The bird is still there. If you want to carry a cage and go somewhere, you get in the car. That's your spaceship. Still the cage is there and the bird inside. The cage is the body of the man and the bird is the soul of the man. Because we haven't trusted that we get the bird back. We carry the cage in the spaceship. Or there is another line of teaching, which is the understanding the structure of the cage, that you can make the cage not to rot, that then it frees the bird, but it can open up and you can carry the bird is free, you don't need to fuel it, you don't need to do anything, it travels the space of the room, the space of the garden, the space of the city, and it comes back home again. In the way we teach about the soul of the man, is in getting the man to trust himself. And to trust himself, he has to become detached. He has to come detached from physicality, detached from the wealth, detached from everything else. That the wealth is within me, not belonging to me. And this is where every man makes a mistake. In many of the teachings I have referred, if you understand that you can put the soul of the man to act with the soul of physicality of the man, you can make anything you like. The soul of the man is the sun, and the soul of physicality in the palm of the hand of the man is the earth. You move it in the direction, you create water, you create food, but you don't need to have it. It creates the energy that the physicality of the man can absorb. We give the earth in the hand, in the palm of the man. He creates what he needs, he takes what he needs from it. Then, if you understand this, you allow the soul of the man to carry the soul of the physicality of the man with it, and whenever it comes, it makes that hand, that palm, 1,000 meter, 1 meter, in a cage of physicality or in a cage of non-dimension. So, it's not methods of flight, it's the method of man understanding his own potential, his own grace. So, because we have so many people who are so physically attached, we teach about the spaceship for years. This is what it was. They still wanted to see they can get into something. But, as I said, I teach for the universe, not for the man. What we teach in the dimension of soul of the man. Many travelers of the universe which hear the soul of me are educated, they understand what they missed. But as this is the last time we bring a messenger on earth, we teach everything for mankind to carry. All the rules are in the book. There shall be no more messages. It's for man to translate knowledge. scientifically, and then through the understanding of the soul of the man, what we call theology, ethics. Ethics of using the science in a way that does not harm no one, but it implies and applies the survival of the others. I was talking about this a few days ago, that there is a paper written by me, the station of the scientist as a prophet. The prophets we call Muhammad, Christ, or anybody, are for the soul of the man, conduct of the behavior. Scientists like beautiful Tesla and others are to elevate the same, but the physicality of the man. This time we have put the two together in one go, then there is no difference. We teach the ethics, the soul conduct, and physicality. It's for the man to understand where the two merge and when it's needed to be done. The totality which counts, not the individuality. What you can serve counts, not what serves you. So in this way, if you are physical, we have given you the spaceship, all these reactors. If you have moved in the dimension of understanding part of it, you have the dynamic system, you get some energies, you put a glass of water, you mix the energy and something else together, you're still the camel bird. You put the orange, take the energy, but you still want that the physicality that you're doing something with it, you drink the water. And for the soul of those who understand the totality, then they don't need the cage, they're the free bird. And this is the essence of all the teaching. It's not different ways of flight, is understanding the existence of the universe. Then if you travel with a spaceship, who do you see? The citizens of the universe in a physical dimension. If you travel with the soul that you can create the physicality, you take that out of the equation. You travel, but you know you have connection with everybody. It's very much, as I said once, it's like you get out of London and you go to New York. You're there on your own, but you still pick your phone and speak to the family in London. It's not finished. Now, the soul of the man, given the man the same opportunity. We teach for the time to come, and we teach from now till that time to come. And that time comes, is not anymore the end of the world, something will happen. It's the maturity of the one's understanding of his own creation.
Welcome everyone to the 273rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, April 25th, 2019. I'm your host, Rick Kremen, today. This is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and it's a public teaching in English. I think I hear Mr. Keshe ready to present today's teaching and education. Are you ready to go, Mr. Keshe?
Yes.
Whoops, lost the audio there.
More wherever you listen to these knowledge seekers teaching. I would like to thank Lisa for such a beautiful intro. As we said last time, and we carry on with the same today, is now understanding more and more in connecting the soul of the man to the physicality of the man. And in so many ways to understanding the heartbeat of the man. Where do the heartbeats meet? The heartbeat of the soul of the man, the heartbeat of the physicality of the man, and what is the outcome of it? What are the consequences of it? What does it develop? What does it constitute? Where does it end? And would that point become something very clear between the two parts of the physicality and emotion of the man, or what we call the interaction between this heartbeat of the physicality and the heartbeat of the soul of the man? There is something very interesting which I think before we go any further we might have to look at, we might have to consider, and we might have to open our eyes to some new dimensions, new understanding. We speak about the soul of the man and the brain of the man, and then we have the heart of the man. One of the ways that the physicality of the man has encaged and enslaved the soul of the man is through the blood. As we say, the emotion of the man, where the emotion of the physicality is transported. So now we understand something very, very simple. As or if you're familiar with the world of physics and plasma technology, places like CERN, places like most advanced plasma technologies, tokamak systems, which is the Russian-based nuclear fusion systems, which is a pure plasma. We have a plasma inside, but to control and maintain the plasma, we need to create a magnetic field around it. This plasma in the center is the soul of the man. And the current which keeps this plasma under control to keep the charge and floating within the center of the brain of the man is circulation of the blood of the man around the skull of the man. And it transfers its energy, and according to the energies, it holds on to the soul of the man. This is why when the man dies in physical dimension, this cage, this electromagnetic field which comes from the pulse, from the rotation of the blood of the man, is broken, and the soul of the man is free. So now you understand how the physicality has encaged the soul of the man. Now we understand the science, how the physicality of the science has engaged the soul of the man to the ethics and ethos of the universe. This is why we understand the totality now. This is why when the separation comes, when we get old and gradually go through the process of tying this cage electrical current, which encages the soul of the man, gets weaker and weaker. So the soul knows it's time to go, because I cannot be kept. As I said, and we heard in the teaching at the beginning, in the intro, we have that cage, and when we open that cage, the bird flies. The cage of the man is made by the emotional part, which is of the same strength of physicality in the dimension of control through the blood of the man. And when that circulation stops, when the physical heartbeat of the man stops, as in tokamaks and in CERN, the electric current breaks down and the plasma is free. We go back to some of the teachings of the past. I always said the physicality of the man is a leech which has attached itself to the soul of the man. And now you understand. When the leech does not work anymore, the cage is open. And the only way that this can be kept is by the circulation of the blood of the man. Now you understand that your blood is the cause of the engagement of the soul of the man. It's circulation. And to engage it, it has to make a very clear, very, very clear joint and connected work that it beats in the rhythm. The soul is aware as the man gets old that I am getting free. The day of judgment is near. This is why many people, when they get old, they start putting the wrongs right, because the soul is getting aware, I have to clean up the slate. Now we understand how we have engaged the soul of the man. And now you understand why, through the energy which you transfer to the blood of the man through the breathing, you can tune, strengthen, or free the soul of the man. Even though you can keep the physicality going, you allow the condition that, as you remember, the two magnets, by strengthening one or the other, you can create the space of, the separation of, but knowing at all time you are connected. You can let the soul free while you hold on to the physicality. As I'm here, I control. This is what happened to us at the time of sleep. The blood circulation drops. The cage becomes loose. You can go for a flight like the bird and come back home when I'm here, because I need it, because with you I can exist. Now we understand the heartbeat of the man, the current flow within the emotion of the physicality of the man through his blood is the key for the man to be able to hold on to the physicality, or allow the soul of the man to encircle the physicality. Then you become a light, then you become messengers of your own soul. This is why we've said before, man does not need no prophet, because now you become the sun, and through it you shine to teach the others. You give. So the dimension of physicality comes within the dimension of the soul of the man. Maybe now we understand more. Maybe now we understand what man has not understood for centuries, from the beginning of time. Now we understand more or less the totality of the existence. Now we reach a point of maturity. Now maybe we can connect the dimension of physicality, the interaction of the soul of physicality, the interaction of the soul of the man, and the interaction of the heartbeat of the soul of the man and the heartbeat of the physicality of the soul of the man, and understand more about our own emotion, our own feelings, our own intentions. Now that we understand how we have engaged this beautiful bird, even though by its existence confirm our existence. And if we learn how to work with it, we do not need to kill to feed the physicality. Because this beautiful soul itself has made a line of interaction with the universal energy. So through it, we can feed. And through this, we can feed the physicality. This is why it says, "Thou shalt not kill." It's not just killing another man. It's not just killing somebody who talks. It's not killing the totality. Because he has the gift and access to the totality of the energy of the universe. This might open your eyes to a new dimension. In so many ways, if we add this to the totality of the understanding, maybe we can open the book of the life of the man in a different dimension. If we understand and we look at the physical structure, if you look at the earth and we look at the magnetic fields around earth, where we have placed the sun here, the magnetic fields of the earth have taken or take a different shape. They are very much flat on this end. We see it when we measure it, and it has extension in the back. Because the pressure of the fields from the sun flattens this part. Where the earth is entrapped inside of this field. This entity is literally like the soul of, and these fields are the engagement. These are what have trapped us inside. Now, can I turn this in a different way? We look at the horizontal line of the sun. Let's turn it in a different way. And let's see when the field strength of it moves, as is the strongest field and as is the weakest. And as the field, when we look at, These are magnetical field pressures. But in essence, there is gravitational fields too. Now, let's change slightly the game. The Earth and the soul of the man. Pressure flat because of the stronger field, and pressure in tail. But the body of the man has chosen the trick. It trapped itself in the skull. Then what happens to the body of the man? Leads to the physicality of the man. At the same time, there is a further problem or another intermediary. We call it the heartbeat of the man, which is the dimension of physicality, which runs the same pattern of work. Now you understand why we always have a heart attack when we hit the brain. Because the tail of the field forces feeds the soul of the man too. Now we understand. This is very much like you put a cap in front of the strong field. Field of the earth, field of the physicality of the man, and field of the soul of the man. The three of them is so powerful that lead on the bounce, even though some of it goes out, back to the dimension of physicality of the man, which on return makes the physical shape of the man. But there is another dimension to this. When we look, as we saw, the flat shape of the fields as they come to the earth, we saw the flat shapes, very flat, but this is the extension. Have you noticed the common denominator? This is the field of the sun. Have you noticed why the shape of the brain of the man is like this? And the soul of the man sits right in the center of it. Look at the shape of any animal. The lion has the same, so has the fish. The flat line is not that. It's just because of the gravitational magnetic field of the both the heart of the man, dimension of physicality, and the earth of the man creates that flat field which forces a flat shape at the bottom of. And on the line of feedback, we call it the neural system, the ground level, the line that you can feed faster that you can get back, the spinal cord. And if you have in a different shape or form, according to the strength and the position from it, you tail this way or you tail that way. If you're a fish, you end up that. If you're an animal, vertical or horizontal. Or the same with the trio, or what we call the vertical beam. Now we understand the structure. Why we have this flat brain at the bottom is due to the massive field pressures of the heart of the man, which gets its field forces and enforces exactly the same fields. And this is why we have the shape of the brain. Then this raises another question for the man. And it is very simple. This is the shape of your brain and this is your soul, and this is the soul of the physicality. At the same time, it's the fluid motion of the field holding, which comes from every essence, which goes through the heart in the essence. Then you understand two things. The fields from the strength of the physicality, the fields from the strength of the soul of the man, the fields from the circulation of the fields of the emotion of the man, then it gives you something you all know. At this strength, from this distance, from the brain, this is where only fields interact, but no physicality. And we call it, this is where we feel happiness, the place of emotion of the man. This is where, at this field of strength, we call it language. This is where that collaborates with the strength of the tongue of the man and the voice box of the man. Where at this strength, and this strength coming from blood of the man and the emotion of the man and the heart of the man, we call it fear. And now we understand there is no difference where the sun came from, and interaction with the other fields created the Jupiter, the Saturn, the moon, but these are the dimension of physicality in the position of matter in the energy fields. We call it the essence of emotion of the man. Somebody's microphone is open. Now you understand how emotion of the man has found a place, but we cannot tangibly locate it and hold it in the brain of the man to call it like an arm. This is the arm of the man, he can hold something, but we say this is the region where we can feel the emotion of happiness, emotion of language, emotion of fear, and many, many other emotions. Where the soul of the man himself, with the interaction of the soul of the dimension of the universe, has its own spaces and fields within the structure of it. Now we understand how emotion is created and how, according to what position we have in given dimension, we have different emotions in different part of the universe, different part of the planet. Why all Italians are lovers or pretend to be the lovers? Is it the island of Italy which creates that point? Or we say, if you're in such a country, French are that way, or the Spanish are that way, or the Mexicans are that way. It's a combination of the energies which floats within the engagement of the blood circulation of the man and the heartbeat of the man, which varies the behavior and the strength of that emotion. But the soul of the man, in essence, is all the same for all mankind, for all creatures of the God, for all creatures of the universe. Then we understand more. Then we understand more about how emotions are created without home, where the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man leads with the interaction of the physicality of the man, his soul.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. We have a connection issue briefly. Bear with us as we reconnect with Mr. Keshe. We're not quite hearing you yet, Mr. Keshe. Still not hearing you yet. Still not able to hear you, Mr. Keshe, if you're trying to speak there. It's interesting coincidence that we lost the connection when Mr. Keshe was talking about the connection of the soul.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we hear you.
Yes, okay. There is something wrong in the system. Do you see the picture?
Yes.
Okay, where did you lost me?
At the point you were talking about the connection of the soul.
We were talking about all the time about the connection about the stuff of the soul.
Well, it was about a minute ago. It was a bit of a gap there. Let's see, what other clues? Someone else give me a prompt on what's the last thing that Mr. Keshe was talking about that we heard? Connection of the soul to the soul of physicality.
Did you hear me about the interaction between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man?
No, I think you just started to talk about that.
Okay, so it means man was not ready to hear. No problem. So what we're trying to explain is the interaction between the soul of the physicality of man and soul of the man in the level of the fields that leads to the creation of emotion. That's why emotions don't have no dimension. They has no home. And that is why, if you understand, you can take most of the physical part of the brain away and you will still have the same emotion. You can create the same physicality emotion in that body of the mind. This is why, as long as the soul of the man or the blood vessels, rotation of the blood within the skull of the man is not stopped, the soul of the man stays within the body of the man. Sometimes, if, for example, we lose the brain, understanding this work of the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality of the man, we can create the missing part of the physical part of the brain. This is how we can regenerate every cell. Then it becomes very easy to be able to understand how we can develop and understand the total work of the physicality of the man. What this means is very simple. If I can make
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe, we have a bit of an echo going on in the background there. Maybe we can alleviate that somehow.
Let me hear.
We don't hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Keep talking. Is it good?
Okay. What it is says up in a mute. It's mute. No problem. This what it means is that with your dynamic system, if you can create the condition of the soul of the man, and you can create the condition of the soul of physicality, and you can create a field to contain both, then you can take this to any position in the universe. And if you can replicate any of these two in the right way, you can replicate the man soul anywhere in the universe. This is why in one of the teachings I've said before that we can take the physicality anywhere, or we can take the soul of the man anywhere and make a copy of it. This is the beauty of it. This is what we say. Mankind has to understand the totality. This is what the problem is, and it'll stay with the mankind. Let's see if I can sort something out. Just 1 second, please.
Not able to hear you yet. To see you're trying to speak there.
Something is happening very strange.
I think you need to turn your speakers down, perhaps in the background.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think that's better.
Okay, So what we see, what we have, is to understand the totality of the work. What is important is to be able to understand now that how the emotion of the man has been created and how the emotion in the physical dimension of the brain of the man links up to different part of physicality of the man. Why we have the position of the fingers near the ear and why we have the upper arms in the center. Because this is what the blood circulation through the motion brings. And if you look at it, we say why we are left connected to the right and why our right is connected to our left. Now we understand a lot more. Now we understand more or less the totality of the construction of the physicality of the man. Now we understand the connection between the emotion of the man through the emotion of the physicality, which is the blood, and through the soul of the physicality, which matches as a twin with the soul of the man. But this leaves one point with the man, that where does the heartbeat come into the operation? Where does the heartbeat of the soul of the man comes into operation? In so many ways, the soul of the man, the heartbeat of the soul of the man has to be in tune with the heartbeat, soul of the physicality of the man. And these two heartbeats do match, it's a time of separation. And it's enough if you find another heartbeat to this, matching, that he can twin with, you fall in love. But at the same time, there is another thing. The soul of the man has no connection bearing with this one. When you can find such an interaction that completes it, you understand it's a complete interaction between the physicality of, and the soul on the same dimension and the strength. This is why we fall in love with our heart, because it's the dimension of the strength of the soul of physicality which falls in love with another dimension of physicality. Because when the blood of the man circulates, I have a different blood circulation than you have. So my soul is engaged and engaged in different strength. It shall not match where the soul of physicality can match. And if you find where the totality of the four can match, you find everlasting. We bring the soul of physicality body has to match the soul of the man too. You cannot jump and dance. If it doesn't match, it doesn't fit. You cannot carry both. The reason being, as I said, as before, man eats different food, and feel the strength of the blood of the man of the longest term, which is about 3 to 5 years, some cells, because they have to reply and service the bone structure of the femur. You stay in love between 3 to 5 years. Because then the cage feel the strength, the last remnants of the first love which created that physical emotion dies off. It gets replaced. So the cage changes, even though these two connect, these two, physicality, emotional physicality, changes through the time and cycling. This is why we see mankind falls in and out of love, tuning at the time of the heartbeat of the physicality with the heartbeat of the soul of the man. Now, a lot of mysteries for mankind is open. And in time, man will understand more and more. And then we understand in so many ways the totality. In so many ways, understanding of the physicality. In so many ways, is in the dimension of understanding how your star formations work. Why the star formations work. Does your star formation have a physical dimension? Does your physical dimension creates that condition? Then it gives you many, many answers. Why mankind has been trapped in this dimension of physicality on this planet. Then if you look at your flight system of your star formation, you will understand you have to create a heartbeat in each one, that when they match, you achieve your spaceship. So it's the same with the soul of the man and the heart of the man, the heartbeat of the man. This is the time when the total physicality of the man and the soul of the man manifests itself in the womb of the mother. This is why they say till certain points you should not do this or do that. So if you understand this, even how you tune your reactors lead to the creation of physicality. So it's the same with your soul and the dimension of appearance of the physicality. You look for the four to create manifestation of physicality. What is your four? You created the soul of physicality, you created the soul of the man. You have the soul of the mother, and you have the soul of the planet. Now, man can understand more. At the point of separation, has not much influence, it's distance, but it still has. The same, you can move away from this, but if you can control this, you can create in any dimension the others. Then you ask yourself, how is the heartbeat created? Then why do we have 4 chambers in the heart of the man? Is the existence of the 4 chambers with different field strength leads to the creation of the physicality of the man, and in totality, a combination of the 4 in interaction with the soul of the man leads to the physical dimension of the man. There is a lot to be understood. Which one leads to the creation of the soul of the physicality? We call it the free soul in the very first reactors. And which one leads to the creation of the soul of the man? Some animals have more than 4 chambers. And some animals, some like fishes, have more than one heart, as they say, the scientists. So it's for mankind to mature to the truth and understand interaction and combination of the totality. Does mankind need to go through the process of creation and maturity? Or is this life another cycle of gathering of some energies like the sun, and in time the sun will disappear and become part of another part of the universe? In today's teaching, I tried to explain more, and I've explained a lot. The beauty of these teachings in past 2 weeks is that the mankind has entered a new level of maturity. And this maturity will take time to be understood by many. It's taken us a year to start speaking about the soul about last May, June, and we are into nearly May. It's taken 12 months to mature you, to gradually bring you to this level. Now, those of you who understand this will take advantage of it. And those of you who live in the dimension of physicality, you find every excuse to jump off the boat because it does not suit you the way you wanted it. Then it comes another point for all of you. As mankind, in essence, comes from the amino acid of the interaction of the field of this universe in the solar system, and the amino acid of the interaction of the solar system of itself and everything else, which has led to the creation of the man, something strange comes up. And as we all have a common denominator in essence in the field strength of this planet, then in some levels, the whole of humanity and all the creation on this planet are connected. And as we've seen, when the soul of the man, with the heartbeat of the physicality of the man, matched up, it created certain emotion. And at the same time, that emotion traveled through the whole organs of the man. When you get fear, every part of the man has fear. And when you have joy, the whole heart of the man has joy. So, in a way, we saw a pattern of work which started with Caroline some time ago. It says, I wish. Is that wish part of the emotion? And so it is. If we all wish for peace as a totality of all of us, as the happiness and joy is part of it, would we touch the whole of mankind? And the answer is yes. We have reached that critical mass that we can. We can feel the fear of the man, and we can feel the joy of the man. And as Keshe Foundation people, that now you understand the process when you mature in totality, the wish of the mankind, which is the peace, and in so many ways the wish of the Creator, that I shall not kill, will come to the same point. Now you understand the day of judgment has arrived. It's for us to judge ourselves and nobody else, and watch our own conducts. And at the same time, as we wish, we shall see peace. Because the knowledge will transfer the same as the Buddha. As I said before, when it says on the doorway of United Nations, which means we are all part of the same body. So, if we wish, now we know why. If we decide, we can create that emotion of the peace, and the happiness of the peace will travel through the whole of not only the humanity, but every creature on this planet. Now man has to mature to this point. Now we understand a lot more. Now we understand much more. And now we understand the connection between the soul of the man and the soul of the physicality of the man and the creation of the emotion of the man. When the two matches given the strength, that the strength will be called happiness. Or in the case of this planet, when the field goes and the fields of the sun, we created, call it the earth and the solar system. It's no different. We just chose a different name for different physicalities. This is nice for humanity to understand this. My teachings are more or less over. and it's time for me to rest. I have taught mankind as much as possible, but now it's time for mankind to take the banner of understanding the totality of the knowledge, and with it, not to work through the dimension of physicality, but through the dimension of the fields of the universe and the fields of the soul of the man and the fields of the dimension of the soul of physicality, and beat the drum of unity and peace through the exactly the same way as the heartbeat of the man. When mankind will mature to that point, it depends how mankind becomes to understand to be detached. Understanding that the fields of emotion of the man are nothing but created by the strength of the field of Allah. So shall be the field of the emotion of mankind. And all those who are created in the common denominator field of the amino acid of the man, or creation and created things planet through the same strength. As I said in many teachings before, if I change this to this, what would you have? Still the same process, more radioactive, higher intelligence, faster reproduction. What about if I change this with this? Or I change this with, I don't know, you mentioned it. We call it A. Then you, in that process, will appear in the dimension of physicality of that dimension according to the interaction of the field. If I change the carbon or the oxygen strength, what combinations and what creatures would you have? But since you still carry the soul of the man or the soul of the creation of the creator. Are there any questions?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes.
This is John in Arizona. I'd like to go back for a second to your comments about the breathing. And is it a breathing where the breath is slowed down, or is it a breathing where the breath is deeper?
Hello?
Did you hear the question?
No.
Okay, so the question has to do with the breathing. In order to have the heartbeat of the soul match the heartbeat of the physicality. And I'm wondering if the breathing needs to be slowed down to kind of like a more meditative state, or if it has to do with the very deep breathing versus the shallow breaths.
Can you hear me?
Just barely. Did you hear my question?
Yes.
Okay, we're getting a little bit of feedback, but I can hear you.
You have to understand, what does the breathing mean? If you go back to a couple of teachings before, I explained the passage of the air and the lung and the heart of the man, where when we breathe, even through our mouth, we still go there. So we energize, we give energy to the soul of the man. And part of this energy, when it goes into the lung, it transfers to the blood vessels, which in tuning of these two, understanding common denominator of it, engages the soul of the man. Go back to the very first teachings, medical teachings. Always said the blood carries the emotion. Now you understand why. So if you change your breathing, how much energy do you give? What rate of energy you give? And how much energy will be given here at this point? Are you creaming of the best for the soul? Or are you creaming of what is at the strength of the soul? And then the heart takes what is at its strength, and the blood takes what is at its strength. Don't forget, the blood of the man has a very tricky game which it plays too. As it goes around the physicality of the man, he absorbs energies from outside too. We always say we can feel something behind us or whatever. That feeling mainly is carried by the emotion of the soul, or dimension of the physicality of the soul, of the blood of the man. There is something very interesting, which, if you understand this, one day mankind will understand. When you have the soul of the man, then you have the soul of physicality of the man. Then ask yourself one question. Why did, or why does, the reproduction part of the man sits the far end from the soul of the man, or any animal creation usually? From the second man matures to have the physicality of the soul of the man and the physicality of the heart of the man's soul, it creates a condition of its own reproduction. In fact, you already carry a sub-soul within you. And the truth is this. In so many ways, man needs a lot to learn yet about his own physicality. How do we absorb all these energies, and how we release these energies within the dimension of physicality of the man? Look at most of animals. The same thing applies. Look at the brain of the lion and the position of the heart of the lion. Leads to dimension of physicality that way. And to hold that dimension of physicality of the fields, it needs legs to stand on it. Why does man has become so mature in understanding and emotion? Because even though we have a flatline brain, the physicality of the man is one of the very few which can lie on his back and it can go vertical. As I said in many teachings, you are benefited from diversity of the energy. And this diversity creates intelligence. Because there are too many factors to handle, and when you have to carry many, then you become intelligent. You have more tools. Intelligence is having more tools in hand. We walk on one leg, we sleep on our back. Not many animals do what the mankind does. Now you understand where the intelligence comes. It's very much like the earth. Because of its angle, in respect to the sun, it has diversities of lives and plant. In mankind, combines to intelligence. Diversity of emotions, diversity of everything else. This is why what we call most of the mammals or animals who are horizontal, be it the fish or whatever, we enjoy this conversion of dimension, and we most carry emotion, understanding, and to extent of how the interaction has come. Some of us say this animal feels, this animal can cry, this animal has, understanding the same as us, because we bring it that way. There are a lot of mysteries about creation is solved for mankind if you understand the totality of it. Why do all these animals have vertebrae? Why do we have to protect the line of the field flow to the furthest point we call the point of, as I said, the two, beginning and end? A lot of understanding needs maturity of knowledge. And now mankind is mature enough. I have taught enough. It's for you to develop and to, as we say, dissect it and understand it point by point. So you have the soul of the man, you create the diversity of the energy to it. So it's the soul of the physicality, the heartbeat of the soul and the heartbeat of the physicality matches, and you create one heartbeat, one connection. If this is out of rhythm with this, you know what happens to you. You call it a stroke because the energy does not match. Soul is peaceful. Man carries the emotion with the interaction, if you look at it, and that feeds the energy release. Now you understand even why you have a heart attack or brain hemorrhage or a stroke. It's not your soul which has a heart attack. It's not your soul which has a hemorrhage. It's the dimension of the emotion of physicality which it gets to feed, and then it explodes. Because it tries to link up with the soul. Soul does not agree with aggravation. Soul does not understand jealousy. Soul does not understand anything. So the field is not accepted. It blows up. Destroys the brain cells because of the energy, vast energy, like a volcanic eruption. You go paralyzed through the physicality because you destroy most of it. If you look at the physical dimension of most of the people who have a stroke, this is the position of the soul, and this is the position of the heart of the man. Is not straightway under. If you get the heart straight under, you have two conditions. People who hardly can have a heart attack, or people when they have a heart attack is so massive that it leads to death. This off-centering of the heart in respect to the soul creates a lot of dimensions for the life of the man in the time when the soul is not accepting the dimension of physicality. Now you see what happens to you. This is your upper arm and upper leg. This is the real lower arm. This is more or less your hand, and by your ear is your toes and your fingers. One beat. If I can do it for you the other way, the green is your leg and the red is your arm and hand. You hit with a massive soul does not accept. The energy is so vast that the energy souls which are created by common denominator of the Kohan itself, it opens them up. The cells energy are released. Then the upper arm does not work. The hand and feet twists. The lower arm has to adjust to the loss of the point of the transfer of the emotion to that part of the physicality. You get twisted hands and arms and the bent. So simple. And then if it's vast enough, then you hit the both side. Because the soul itself diverts part of it as it cannot accept. Voila. The right side, you get all your fingers on the left. Perfect. You get the left side, you get the right arm paralyzed. The shape of the physicality of the man, the position of the soul of the man, and the position of the heart of the man, and in the strength tuning dictates all your damages you do to yourself. The strangest thing is mankind has made a lot of things and they call it chakras that are in one line. In reality, your chakras are very much like this, because the soul of the physicality and the soul of the dimension of the emotion moves it to adjust itself. It's like magnets. It's not the one central. Then you breathe, then you understand. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'll remind the attendees here in the Zoom chat that they can put their hand up so we can allow you to speak. Panelists can go ahead if you have a question. And then we have several questions that people have been asking. There's one that goes along with what you've been describing here, Mr. Keshe, from Chris in YouTube. Why is it that the soul is in this cage? What does the soul gain in this situation, or is it without purpose?
The soul was created out of the dimension of the physicality. When we look at it, you had the egg and the sperm, an interaction of their fields, an absorbing field from the womb of the mother. The energies they create led to creation of what we call the centralization. Once they go to too many, they have to be able to do, and that energy surplus become to control, balance everybody together in a way, it becomes the soul. And now more and more energies strengthen the soul. And then you have more divisions, you get that circularity. Then you have the dimension of the, what we call the field of the planet, which itself, it pulls and creates that dimension, and we brought it back with us, that's what we call in our genes, to create a bone structure to protect it. If you look at the structure of the growth of the fetus, most of the energy which absorbs from the womb of the mother and from the environment is at the level of the calcium. Because it decides, it has needed, it has learned that it needs to protect itself. That I can contain this, that I can contain these guys unruly loud. And then, that's what I said, you make this brain of it, that I'm gonna here to give, I'm not gonna deal with every single cell. I'm sitting here, I allocate people, they want to talk, they talk to this, I send information, they get in there. Otherwise, if they're all gonna go with the brain, with the soul, it would have been a big mess. So in a way, the soul of the man, or over time, has created the brain for, in a way, you want to deal with me, deal with my ambassador. I send a message there, you send there, you can deal with it. Because you got to understand something very simple. It's a combination of works which comes to it. You have the brain of the man. You have the heart of the man, which is the soul of physicality. You have the soul of the man. You have the circulation. I'll make you British, you're going to become blue-blooded. So now you have the circulation. Then at the same time, you have the organ which has its own soul. The cell in that position is soul. Now you understand is 4 factors to decide the position. This is how it works. We call it in our star formation the free position, free energy. These give energy, this gives energy, this gives energy, this here sets. So this is the center in a way, as you see it. Depends, you decide which one is going to be the creator. In the space technology, in the body of the man, we decide which way to move. In space technology, if you understand, you don't have a steering to steer up and down, but the change in the field strength of one reactor, you decide the takeoff, the landing, and direction of motion. Or you go this way, or you go that way. These fields rotate. You cannot keep on changing. As you know, as you change the strength of the field, it decides which way the fields will flow. And how many of them in which direction in respect to which position. In so many ways, this brings us back to very one point position. We are ready to interact with both governments to enforce peace through this knowledge. As of this week, we deal with all nations to enforce peace through technology, very direct way. Because now we have taught enough of you, and enough souls have learned that you call it my wish to create peace. Now we create the tool of the peace. And it's within my command, within my commission, as you say, to make this move. You know where Da Vinci went wrong? Da Vinci went from one district to another to earn a living or to live. He created more different killing machines. And he said, I've given him that, I'll give you better to do that. So he had to invent new machines to be better, to be able to kill what he killed before in the other one, because he used to move overnight from one, what we call local king, to another. The difference between us is that we take the tool of peace and we negotiate with the governments. And this negotiation starts from tomorrow. We don't sell weapons, we sell peace. Does not suit you, we have the technology to enforce you. By giving so much that you do not need to kill. I gave enough warning to the Chinese government and they do not listen. And if they don't do, within the coming time, we will see, maybe that's the reason for it, that we move to the dimension of peace. We don't make weapons to overcome weapons. As you've seen, the Americans had the best weapons. We just disarmed it by the new technology. We don't need to be afraid of it. So you have to understand now, man moves in a new direction. And I have taught you a lot. And it's time for those men who are kind to start putting their house right. The totality has to be understood. Mankind cannot wait for others to catch up. The others have to catch up because mankind has moved on. Maybe it's time to ask all those of you who listen, which runs millions of you, is to start the process of peace. If you understood what I just explained, we do not need even to lift a finger, because we can transmute and transfer the emotion of peace. As we say, my patience has run out and it's become very thin. So we do it our way, the universal way. We enforce peace through sharing of the knowledge in a peaceful way, but then the governments have to start running. When I move, universe shakes. When I move, mankind will be in dust. You got to understand that knowledge is a gift, and you got to understand knowledge is the maturity of the soul of the man and not belongs to the physicality of the man. As I said many times, my patience is not lack of not understanding. My patience comes out of my maturity of knowing you do not understand. Any other question?
Well, we did have a couple of other questions from, may not be directly related, but we'll see. From Bente had a question regarding atomic hydrogen and GANs, and why does light become GANs in the coldness and low gravitational and magnetical fields in the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt rather than atomic hydrogen?
Pardon?
She's asking, why does light become GANs in the Oort cloud and Kuiper belt rather than atomic hydrogen? Apparently,
I don't understand.
I think she took it out of one of your books, perhaps. The coldness and low gravitational and magnetical fields in the Oort cloud was mentioned, I believe. And she's wondering what about that causes light to become GANs rather than atomic hydrogen. Is there something about the coldness and low gravitational and magnetical fields that are important there?
It all depends, because not necessarily everything becomes what we see. There are a number of questions in here by different people. I'll try to answer them because some of them I wanted to discuss. Now you put it up, I'll explain. The Earth, an interaction of the fields of the sun with the Earth and the fields of the universe with the solar system and the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth create different strength and different dimensions. And the interaction and position of the interaction of the fields creates the same kind of dimension. Those are what amino acid strength that become tangible and can make a human, or are the strength of the fish or a cat appear here. Those who are at the strength of the fields of here, they appear in upper atmosphere. The same, when man goes into space, you'll find a lot of different kind of lives within the solar system without planetary system. Man at the moment is looking for life in planetary system. Can you hear me?
Yes, it's good, Mr. Keshe.
Yeah. So mankind, even when you go in the upper levels, we see life. Because life in upper atmosphere has no interaction with the inertial consistency of what conversion to matter state creates life which is above on the upper atmosphere. So it has no dimension of physicality. It stays in the dimension of plasma like a jellyfish. The same exists within the dimension of the solar system. The same exists within the dimension of the galaxies in the universe. Once you have the inertia interaction and you are in a gas state, you create manifestation of liquid dynamic flow as a human body. The same, when there is no inertia interaction, life is still created. But it's not just only from the earth and the sun, it's from the cosmosical radiation, what comes from the cosmos too. Part of our life on this planet receives radiation from cosmos. We don't receive everything from the earth and the sun. Our soul lives through the higher strength order, through the cosmology, or the cosmic rays. This is why sometimes, as we said before, astronauts see lights, photons in their eyes, because that ray is attracted towards the strength of the soul, and in its path reaching the soul, passes through the eye and changes to a photon. Why does it have to be going, and why do we see so much of it? It's a lot to learn, a lot to teach. If you have a dimension of the field of the from cosmos is coming towards the soul, and by coincidence that field sits partially your eye in it, it reaches this point. So the photon appears in your eyes. Now we understand more. Why do we get a brain damage for so many things? It's not that the rays are going all the time. They're heading for the master. They're on the way to feed the soul of the man, because the soul of the man is in interaction with other souls. So it attracts fields of the same strength. And in the path, if they do hit the cell of the man, of the brain, then you see damages. Always see it as a photon in the eye of the man. Now you even understand the process. They have put many, many buckets in the bottom of the earth trying to get the neutrinos to see if they create one photon. But the eye of the man, the astronauts get many of them all the time. There is no soul here to the strength to absorb. You put a man in a pool, you'll see a lot of photons, because they come from the cosmos. because it's connected to the soul of the universe. But the scientists don't understand. They dig a hole and they go in, trying to see the slowdown on the photon in a tank 10 kilometers under the ground. You put a man in the tank with a soul, you get many photons in the brain and the eye of the man. He'll get the same flashes. One of the reasons we don't see these, sometimes you just see a flash of light in your eyes. It means that comes from the high level photons on the way to your brain. Part of the brain hemorrhage, brain cancers of the man comes from interaction with the field of the universe. It's not all because of the man, it's partially is because this guy in the center is absorbing. He's already established a line of communication with the universe. So once you establish, all the fields are open. If you are in that length, so they come to you to feed. Now you understand more about the mysteries of the life. And if you look, the soul of the man sits exactly where it should be. Now even you understand, as I said, why you got a flat bottom brain. Because the feeder strength of the earth is heavy. You look at the animals, theirs is that way, and it tails back. Seen a question that it says, is this why dolphins are so intelligent? Yes. This is what I wanted to explain. Now you raise the question, I can answer you. Yes, they are. Dolphins, in so many ways, move in both directions. Most of the fish do, but dolphin is one of those like human, which takes direction, the same as human on vertical. This is part of the intelligence because you have a spectrum of fields. That's why dolphins have the same. They go through this emotion. The variety brings the beauty of intellect. That's why monkeys are the same. You see the uprightness of the man with the leg, and the chimpanzees with the shorter leg has created a difference between, otherwise they sleep back too. And then you have to ask yourself why sleeping on your back gives you different intelligence. Not much to guess, is it? When you are an animal sleeping on two legs flat with the cheek, or when you put your brain directly in touch with the earth to absorb all the energies, it's a big difference what you absorb. And then when you stand up away from it, it's a big difference. It has to still catch up. Now, you find answer to many mysteries of life this way. Any other question?
Well, we had a big question from Chris, which is, why is man so ignorant of the soul and its powers?
Oh, we were not ignorant. We dealt with the magicians called prophets. Or people who thought they understand it, so they made it somewhere else. And those who benefited in the name of the prophets. Because we never, it's not something tangible we could touch. It's not something you can engage it. You can engage your soul, but you have to create the right fields for it to be able to do, and you take the physicality out of the action. It can be done. But we never understood till these teachings in past 12 months, for past billions of years, man has never been aware of existence of his own creator. You understand this because you understood the operation of the dynamic reactors. In so many ways, I had to teach you this for you to understand the reality about this, because you've seen it. Now you understand it because you had a free field there. You've seen it. In the coming days, I'll bring all the military forces on this planet to standstill. Mankind has one choice but to peace and true understanding of this process. In a way, I'm running out of patience, you call it. Very soon, not a single bullet will leave a gun. The only energy which man can release is from his soul to elevate the soul of the others.
Mr. Keshe, some people,
Yes.
sorry, some people, there's a question, and some people are thinking that the sun has changed color from yellow and is now more on the white side. First, is that something that you think is true? And second would be the comment from Andrew is because it's now white because it's now giving us more good energy. It's more pure, so that it changes man's attitude to war and things like that.
The color of the sun on Earth, it depends on our atmospheric condition. But there is something very strange happening, and that's we see a lot of earthquakes in certain places, which is the wrong time of the year for them to be. And this is a warning to many things, which is unusual to see earthquakes in this time of the year in these locations, which means a lot of field forces have moved within the center of this planet. We were expecting a massive catastrophic movement in the coming time. And one of the major cities in the world will be hit. We see the pattern. It has started about 3 weeks ago, out of nowhere, 4 weeks ago. And this is not the time for these things to move. And these creates different conditional fields.
Mr. Keshe, we have a question from Jarrett. He says, hi, Mr. Keshe. Might you be able to explain for us how to make a plasma device that would allow us to see the holographic emotional nature of the blood?
Why, you think I'm a magician?
Is it possible to see the emotional nature of the blood?
You can see the emotion of the man, yes. You can read the emotion of the man if you can replicate the fields of it. It has a language, it has a dimension. And the blood of the man carries the same thing. It carries the emotion of the physicality. Everything has a strength level. You've got to learn how to tune into it.
Well, we were talking about that in the Keshe Plasma Reactor group yesterday, and Mario was doing a demonstration with the whiteboard, and Estella was interacting with him, and they're both quite strong characters, let's say, and they're trying to interact with each other, and there's a bit of friction going on, but at the same time, there was this connection, emotional interplay, you might say. And I think you mentioned one time, or at least one time, Mr. Keshe, about blood types and different cultures, and about being like hot-blooded, you might say, or you mentioned Italians earlier being lovers and so on. And some cultures, maybe Spanish, for example, that tend to be more sort of
temperamental
or agitated a bit when they're, from my perspective, but from their perspective, it's all normal. So how does the blood work into that? Because surely there's a connection there between different types and different souls.
We absorb different energies in different areas, and we absorb different energies from different foods. It's very strange. If you I tell you something which is very strange. If you live in Europe, or you live in England, and you live, let's say, in Western Europe, and I tell you which people eat hot curries, you will straight away talk. Who do you think, Rick, or people around you, who do you think that eats the hottest food? Indians or the Chinese? The Chinese. In the West, we have given the wrong image of the people, of the culture. In what we call, if you tell to an Englishman that I'm going to Chinese for a hot food, they laugh at you. It's impossible. But if you live in China, they eat so hot that most of them have more or less this behavior of shouting and being very loud. And they have a different kind. Indian food is terribly hot. Chinese food is chili hot. It's totally different. And if anybody tells you the hottest food you ever eat, where would it be? It's not in Thailand or somewhere in India. It's in China. This increase in the energy transfer comes with what? Listen, I was just explaining very recently. They did a survey by the Greek government, official survey, asking what people see in respect to Chinese. And one of the things of the survey was that the Chinese are very loud, but it's no problem because the Greeks are as loud as the Chinese, so they don't see them as a problem. But you take a Chinaman into London, everything is hush hush. Nobody can understand. Chinese speak too loud. It is the food they eat and the way they eat. In Chinese food, you get chilies and food. In Indian food, you get herbs with chilies, which is different reason. And then that creates different emotion, different behavior. And secondly, in reaction to environment we live, we react. If you go, Africans are always placid and whatever, because it's so hot, you can't get aggressive. You get aggressive, you're just done. The heat of the day will kill you. It creates that environment. And that creates behavior. It brings an emotional behavior. Now we can clearly explain why, like the French have this romantic behavior, the Frenchman and everything else. My God, you give me that much wine, I'll become romantic. I don't know which one is the left hand and the right hand. I call it anything I like. You do with the Italians, they have the heat of it and everything else. It's the environmental energy we absorb from the food, the environmental energy we absorb from the earth in regarding the central gravitational magnetic field is very much like the brain I explained. This is the brain of the man, and here is the emotion of happiness. This is the planet and the man. Here you get aggressive, here you get friendly. It's the same thing. When man becomes knowledgeable, he will see the same thing in the structure of the center of the planet Earth. Earth has the same two sections. All planetary systems have the same. It looks to be all the same, circular, but more or less we have a division inside. The division inside is what creates the dynamism of the planet. We get excited, we react. We get the stroke, we react. We get everything else, we react. Any other question?
Fried was wondering if you could shed light on the gigantic floods in Iran of the last few weeks. They're hardly mentioned in the mass media.
There's been a flood from a month ago, but we have it everywhere. At the moment it's the springtime, and there's been a massive disasters. Is part of what you call happens. There's been a drought for a long time. Now it happened. We had a massive drought last summer in Western Europe. One of the worst summers in Europe. Now we have this situation. There's flood. It's the time of the floods, but it depends how the the clouds stand. You have it in a number of countries now.
Canada's
There
having
is a
massive
shift in the
floods right now. Sorry, go ahead. I was
there is
just
a
saying that.
shift. There is a shift in the there's a shift
Sure.
in the atmospheric condition. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Keshe. Sorry, I was just commenting that that's happening in Canada right now. They're having massive floods in various places, and you're talking about relocating towns and that kind of thing. So
These are historically always has happened. So we see a shift. This is one of the things I said. We see earthquakes, which is not usually there, and usually earthquakes comes by the shift of the certain fields, and it's very clear that during these times the earth is moving closer to the dust without a shadow of a doubt. We have nudged up in past 20, 30 years a big chunk forward. It's usually what we do, we here as we go around the solar system, we're coming closer and closer. But somehow now we have dropped one to get closer. And this nudge is creating conditions. Partially this nudge comes from the use of the emptying the center of the earth through industry. That's definitely the oil damage, or what you call this layer which is absorbs many fields, and it's now been removed and it's been burnt out outside, has created interaction of the field. This is very obvious. And this field interaction allows a jump in. The global warming is a CO2. No, it's to do with what we are pulling out of the earth. We're taking more blankets off, so it's releasing more heat. More fields in the what you call gravitational field. The strength absorbed much less, so the sun is pulling us in. We have entered one nudge in. This is very clear in past 20, 30 years. If mankind does not stop the pulling of the oil, because it's a very thick material, it absorbs a lot of fields into it, so it's moisture, it's combination. The CO2 is not the damaging part. Depleting this blanket, which is the problem. But mankind doesn't understand and blame it on CO2. Global warming is we are getting pulled in because of depletion. We should have gone, for example, this way to come here in, let's say, a million years. Now we dropped in. We are dropping in very rapidly because we have created that condition. Global warming is not through not CO2. CO2 creates more life. Depletion of this layer is causing massive problem. And we dropped in. We feel it. But it's the earthquakes, massive earthquakes which are coming, is this to adjust for this tightening. And the more it tightens, the more mountains have to build up on the surface, because the surface planet are pushing inside each other, or pulling the other way around. This should have been the natural path. Mankind, with this oil industry depleting inside the planet, and secondly mining as another line of it, have jumped in. We have changed course. This, if I can show it to you, this is the course now we've taken. We should have been here in a million years, but we have jumped in. We would have come here in a million years' time. This is where the global warming is coming in. Abuse of the planet. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Keshe.
We reached the critical mass drop. Who is this guy, Alice? Then we have another guy the same. Last time you blocked him, is coming different name.
No, this is Dan. You mean Dan?
No, somebody's called Balis. Yeah, Dan.
That's Dan. Yeah. He has a question here, but I can't.
Yeah.
It's hard to read the question, so I wanted him to ask it if he would like to open up.
If you think appropriate, would you ask Mr. Keshe about the spleen?
Spleen?
It's the last question which is coming.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, from Mark.
Any organ of the body of the man removed has a very interesting dimension to it. You got to understand, if you take a part of the body out, just because you have taken that part out does not mean that that part does not work. It actually leaves its own field there, and it still operates, but in the dimension of the field. Even when they take one of your kidneys out, if you can create a right condition, you can actually grow kidney in that space. By losing part or part being removed, just because it's physically removed, does not mean that it's absolutely gone, especially internal organs. The space and the fields of it are there to operate the same. This is something in one of the medical teachings I have explained this fully.
So, in the case of Mark's question, he says, how would this affect the joy and happiness of emotion of the man? Would it affect it in that way?
Not really. Depends if the spleen has anything to do with the joy or happiness, or we think it has. What is the function of a spleen? Or what does man been told is the function of a spleen?
Mr. Keshe, it's Lisa
Yes.
here. Could I ask a question, please?
Yes, thank you very much for your beautiful video.
I enjoy making them. Thanks. I was actually wanting to ask you just now about the brain, and now you've just spoken about how if you remove an organ, back in my hometown in South Africa, a little boy was born who only had a brain stem and no brain. And, the doctors obviously said, oh, this child will never live and whatever. But he lived for 12 years. He couldn't see and he couldn't hear, but he could feel and he could semi-interact. And he was a very special little boy who brought many things to many lives. And I just wondered whether that brain that wasn't there was only fluid, how a person with the brain how does a brain develop in the womb simultaneously with the physical organs, or how would that actually change, besides the fact that the child couldn't do many things other children could do, what that does to a life, and the dimensions that soul would have even in their physical life.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think your microphone is muted.
Yeah, I'm just trying to explain it, or think to explain it in the in a different way. You see, I think I've answered you before. I go back to it to answer you in a different way. The boy had a skull. Yeah. The bottom bit, whatever you want to call it, did not exist on its own. Am I correct?
Yes, he had a brain stem and then the fluid in his brain that was there.
Okay. I just answered you in a different way a few minutes earlier. Two ways, two things. If this is the fluid in the brain, yeah, and if this is the, what do you call, blood vessels on the skull of the man. Mankind looks for physicality to confirm, but because of not having the physical dimension of the tangible brain, the emotions still work. But in the dimension of the fluidity, if the brain, the skull was maybe bigger, and the emotion of the physicality of the soul of the man, and the soul of the man would have been here in that liquid here, he might have been able to see. So the emotion does not need tangibility of the matter state. So doesn't matter if it's a liquid or a solid brain, it still functions. This is what I said, somewhere in upper atmosphere we see intelligence, life without a physicality. It still knows joy, it still knows fear, it still knows where to go and feed itself. So is the boy. And because you don't have anywhere in this physical dimension that it could translate into the dimension of physicality, you cannot have the function of. Because here, it needs the physicality of the calcium, physicality of the fingers, that it can be connected to. That's all it is. If you would have given him to Mark, one of the knowledge seekers, and he knew how to build brain, if you give me such a person, I can build you the brain and the child shall see. Because I know how to create matter state that the brain can be produced. It will take me a few weeks to do it. He will see, because I can convert this energy as a liquid into energy as a mass, as a brain. I've done this, we've done it with the case which is now going to European Court of Justice with what do you call it, with the Belgians. We've done it with what do you call Naomi. And now we are doing it in Iran as part of the, what we said, the peace process within Iran and the United States. Doctors in Iran now bringing another patient out of court. We have the knowledge to do it, and we have seen in the case which is now running in Iran with the scientists in Iran, the We are growing the brain where it's damaged, and soon the doctors will fulfill, when it's completed, will release the report to both the Iranian government and United States government. We've seen the response, the same process as before. Now, if it's liquid, we can convert it into the solid mass, that then there's a physicality to match the physicality. Very soon we should be able to deliver these systems very easy. Building up brains takes few weeks. You can do all sorts of magics now with this new technology.
Mr. Keshe, do brain waves work into this technology in any way? They come in different categories, like the beta and alpha and theta brain waves, and they've been measured for many years.
You know, the brain waves, as you call it, brain waves, it's like what they call the elements inside inside the nucleus. What is it? Left turn and the right turn, and kryptons and leptons and whatever else.
Baryons,
yeah.
and
yeah, this is the same, because they don't understand it. They talk this way. Physicality has a dimension or has an energy matter interaction. One of the two. You can convert it. You see, this is what I say, maybe to those of you who understand what I'm talking about. We get a gas, we get a copper, we transfer it to a gas, we transfer it to energy. Now we transfer the energy and we create matter, copper, zinc, water. Now we get the skull of the man and we transfer this energy to brain cell. What's the difference? Which part of the technology you don't understand? If, like Peter, who made the zinc and nickel or whatever is certified, now it's this way. I get the same energy, but this time I want to make water, I make water from it. I want to make energy, I make energy from it. This way, through the system, you understand, we lead to the creation of the cell of the man, body of the man. I was telling this to a bunch of people very recently. Up to now, I've done everything which could not be done. A coma patient, blah, blah. The only thing is left for me to give me a dead body and I'll resurrect it. And that's very easy. Soon it'll be done. Because I can transfer the energy to be the strength of the soul of the physicality, and the body shall move. It's very easy for me. I'm the creator. So what do you want to do? What do you want me to make you? So when I tell you we are making a brain cell or we done with Naomi, it's no difference. It's just you have to we create a condition to make gold. Here we create a condition to make brain cell. Because we have learned the mutation of the elements and we have learned the mutation of the energy. Finished. You wanted to wait for Mehdi to come, or for Messiah to come, or return of the Christ to come, or whatever. The knowledge is not the physicality of the man. Now you know how to react, you know what to do. You know what it leads to what. You want it, you made it, Some of you want to fly. Some of you can do what? Some of you want to make a brain. Some of you want to see gold. Some of you want to do anything. As I said to somebody, I don't carry no business card because there's no business card in the universe. I've never seen anybody in the universe carrying a business card in their pocket. And I've never seen anyone in the universe doing what mankind does to himself. I have taught you the foundation of the knowledge. Some of you understand it and use it and go and get the Nobel Prize for it. Then it's your set intelligence. And some of you use it and try to make weapon out of it because it doesn't. My soul, you pay with the life of those who have emotion with. You got to understand the knowledge is complete. What you understand from it counts. In a way, if you understand the knowledge, you can create life as much on the planet Earth than on planet Zeus, or in between, in no matter state.
Mr. Keshe, John from Argentina, yeah?
Yes.
A few months ago, I sent Caroline a video where a bloke in Brazil had a couple of big tumors in his right brain, and he had the brain taken away, and the right part of the scalp was missing, and he was still alive, and he has managed to recuperate his movement on his left side and learned how to talk again.
It's very simple. We've done that before. You see, when we do it scientifically, it's a criminal offense.
Yeah, well, he has nothing on his right side and a big hole.
Yes, but the energy is there because it knows where to build. The field of this, just because you've taken a bone, does not change. As long as you don't touch the soul, yeah?
Yes, apparently his soul must be there.
You can produce anything. Yeah. You can produce anything, any part of the brain. You see, this is one of the biggest problems in the world of science. Now has become the world of technology too. If you don't have it, you have to stop it till we can understand and we can have it. Now it runs in the world of commerce. The same way. You have the brain, you have the soul, you have the heart. Between them, there is a point of interaction. And they will create, because you have the other part of the brain, which is a matching, and will take part of it. In a case of, we have videos of this. We can show you that it will be submitted to European Court of Justice in part of the case we are taking there, that we transferred the whole function of the brain into the nerve system of the jaw till the brain healed and repaired. And it's done by doctors present, not by me. It's part of understanding. That's what I said. If you have a kidney here, it still functions if they're taking it away, but it works at an energy level. Man has to understand this. There is no need for a dialysis machine if you understand this when the kidney fails. When people bring advanced technologies in and others want to stop it, it's because they don't make money out of it. It's not to the profit. We've seen happens all the time. Otherwise, this knowledge will go very fast. In the coming time, you will see, because my teachings are more or less complete. There's a little bit more to teach. This I brought you a year to be here to be done. And this we see now in the course. Look, I explained to you why Huawei is in problem around the world. Because Huawei, through new technologies, are something like maybe up to 25 years ahead of the Americans and the European communication system. They cannot catch up. They try to stop the advancement of the knowledge. I see myself in this many nations like this. We can't get it, we block you. The same did with the Iranian nuclear. Why is so much pressure by the Americans on the Iranian nuclear? Because we are 50 years ahead of Americans. Forget about 20 years. They need 1 megawatt, blah, blah, to do 1 kilo. We use very little, we produce 1 ton. All the pressure of the Americans on the Iranian nuclear industry, everything, is to get access to the rapid development of recycling of fuels. Now Huawei is in the same position as Iran. Now it's a small. They imprisoned their daughter. They imprisoned Iranian nuclear physicists in the same area by the Canadians. The same terrorist organization they call themselves by their. And they call the others terrorists. And this all change. It's the same way we can grow. Now it's an international case. In Iran with a coma. You will see very soon. In 10 days, 2 weeks, we get response. In 10 days, 2 weeks, we get a motion of the toes and fingers. We get, in 10 days, 2 weeks, we get the opening of the legs and everything. Because everything is getting recorded. And then it's for the Iranian scientists and the doctors from America are involved in it. We said there'll be a joint Anglo-Iranian doctors. The American passport holders helping in Iran, Iranian movement to recover from 2 years coma. Next time is the American person with the Iranian doctors who learn, they will go under it. The American press is now releasing the knowledge.
Does this mean somebody that has type 1 diabetes, you could teach him how to replace that kidney that is in malfunction?
I've done it many times. Diabetic type 1, you see that you have to understand what is the difference with diabetic type 1, type 2. Type 1 is created at the time of birth. Type 2 comes through the pressures of the misbalance after birth. All the ones scientifically you track down who are those who've been under pressure inside the womb of the mother or through the birth tunnel. You all have diabetic mind. When you drink too much alcohol or you take whatever, you put the same connection of the pressure. You see, what is diabetic? It's psychosomatic. It's the same. Carbon connected. Sugar. Simple. type 1, I've written a paper about diabetic somewhere. Now, the type 1 diabetic is to do with the pressure at time of birth. Most of the people who get trapped in the birth tunnel or had a rough birth, or they've been under pressure inside the womb of the mother, where the kidneys have been put under pressure, you get diabetic one. Repairable. The same with diabetic. You've seen we just published the paper here last year. Blind with a foot, no blindness, no, with a repaired foot. And you know the diabetic, high blood pressure, and some of the diseases comes from the unbalances within the kidney, the glands over the kidney, in the back of the kidney, which are affected. Because glands are part of the brain of the man. So,
Mr. Keshe,
yes.
you mentioned.
Who's speaking?
This is Dimitri.
From?
Private class.
From which country?
I'm from England.
Yes.
You mentioned presently in Iran, they are growing a brain, and they've done that in several.
They're growing what?
A brain?
Yeah, we are helping with a coma patient, yes.
So,
it's done by doctors and scientists, yeah.
Right, and this coma patient, they have a fully grown, the physicality of the brain is all there. Is that correct?
Yeah, there are parts missing.
Right, okay. And so you've mentioned that it's taken a couple of weeks, a few weeks to grow those parts of the brain?
Yeah, it's a step by step. It's growing, yes. At the beginning, it's videoed. It's a job of the doctors in the US and Iran, Isfahan Sharif, Isfahan University, Medical Central Research, Medical School of Isfahan, to publish, because they're monitoring it, to publish all the papers.
Right. Previously, thank you. Previously in a teaching, I'm sure I heard you say that like fingers, hands, arms, legs, it can all be regrown, but that actually takes months because it's a 30-day cycle of cell regeneration, cell multiplication.
Yeah.
So how and that speed of cell regeneration, that's the same with the parts of the brain as with the rest of the body, yes?
No, brain is a different proposition. And secondly, as part of the knowledge, I can grow your leg in 5 minutes.
Ah. Okay,
because
then.
I know where to tap to.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You see, my knowledge is very complete. I know where to go, but if I do it, then become Christ, and then I have to resurrect that man, and that's the last thing I do. The only dead man which left for me to resurrect is the soul of humanity, and then that'll be it.
Well, that was one of the questions in the live stream from Jarrett. Can you resurrect a decayed body?
Of course you can.
Well, we have an even more important...
Do you want this time Belgium to put me on the cross? Because the king is not getting paid? In a very short time, hopefully in the next few months, one of the biggest hospitals in the world has been given to be used by Keshe Foundation Technology as much as we can use. And it's a massive compound, and you will see it. Is set up to accommodate, we've been told, about 3,000 patients a day. And very soon, in the next few weeks, 2-3 weeks, if things go okay, we will give you the name and address of an organization that you can travel to with all the diseases and be looked after by doctors. It's a medical hospital. We're just on process of seeing if we can do anything with them. But the last part of it is a brand new hospital. For the first time, you can go to official hospitals, medical centers, to benefit from all aspects of the Keshe Foundation technology, if we manage to finish our jobs within the next few days. We can travel, accommodation will be there for you to stay during the process, being a stroke, being coma, being anything. It's a governmental official, and after that, hopefully, we've been told by the end of this year, will develop so much that number of health centers will be able to meet massive demands of the international demands, and it brings a massive health industry to the nation. Just be a little bit patient with us. It will be announced very soon. It's a governmental, what do you call it? National organization, and the hospital, it's fully ready. We just got to wait for our people to finish what they're doing to be able to start it. And you can travel to these centers for the most advanced technologies. You can come in with any disease, it will be sorted, it will be looked after, and you can leave and even live with your family or maybe loved ones within the accommodation of the hospital. This is unofficially by government, what do you call it, under control of the doctors and the health people. And we open it in a very big way. We are providers of the knowledge, and the doctors and the officials are the providers of the services and the usage.
That sounds great. I'm sure there's lots of people that will want to take advantage of that.
Yes, it is. It's a gift from the Chinese nation to the rest of the world. And we are waiting next few weeks, we'll announce it. You travel to Beijing, or by the end of the year, hopefully to southern part of China. And got the most modern advanced technologies available through the Chinese health system. And then you can directly benefit by it. We train the Chinese doctors, and the standard way it's done. Those who are close to the Keshe Foundation structure have been shown the buildings and the operation in the recent past, and as part of the development, we'll see. So in the coming weeks, hopefully, I hope it won't last to a month. These health centers will be available, that you can travel from anywhere in the world to benefit by the advancement of technology. You shouldn't fall off your chair. I've got to understand why you're falling off your chair. You got to explain that, Ahmed. But this is as part of the work.
Okay, we've got a couple of people that, like Dan, you had a question in the Q&A, but you're probably better off asking it personally if you can there. If you want to ask your question, maybe it's a good time. Okay.
Can hear me?
Oh, hello.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Mr. Keshe. I'm down from Romania. You listen well?
I cannot hear. There's a breakage in the system.
Yeah, it's a bad connection there, Dan. It's hard to hear. There's an echo.
Okay. Leave for another time if you it's not properly.
Okay, thank you.
I thank you.
You've probably seen the question in the Q&A, Mr. Keshe, from Keoyan, who is asking, can you comment on the concept of the multiple chakra and kundalini versus the single energy center? There are statements that the chakra system
What
is
do you want me to
artificial
comment?
and superficial to our true single center state and structure. And he goes on to say, I myself am often working with a single super powerful center located at my thymus gland, a bit above my heart. I definitely feel better working from this center without using the chakra system at all. Thank you.
It depends how you find the path to how to receive the energy. Some people in some races can create a source of energy outside their body and absorb from it what they want to do. I'll teach this one day, but in so many ways, has to be done in a different way. If you look at it as a soul of the man, and I said in the palm of the man, by sharing the dimension of the two souls, and then transferring the soul of the physicality of the heart of the man, he can produce any matter. You don't necessarily need the arm, otherwise the man with no arms will starve. You can do the same at anywhere in the universe, and from it you absorb the energy you need. In a way, it's a special way to do it. If you understand it in time, this is your soul, this is the soul of your physicality. You create a physical dimension, the strength of the matter state of it, and you create this one. Does not need to be in the center of the soul. And this energy, because you have created it, you can feed the totality. There's a specific way to do this. You can bring it inside your body and use it from here to feed. Any other question? Or shall we call it a day? We needed 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Yes, you've answered a lot of questions here today, but there's a big question that that plagues mankind that Jeanette is asking, and she's asking, how can you solve the problem of snoring?
There's a woman somewhere in the background in this crowd. She can tell. She's very good at it, but she hasn't managed to stop me snoring. Is Caroline there? She's still in there.
There she is.
Can you speak?
You're breaking up there, Caroline.
Right here.
Hear me now?
It's better.
No. It means God doesn't want you to learn how to get rid of the snoring. We can't hear it. I will explain, but this is the logic of Caroline behind it. It says, when you cannot speak your piece to the one who you have to speak your piece to, then you snore, because that's the way of you trying to talk. You see, it was so bad that she left the meeting. I think she dropped off. Her zone is dropped off. It's scientifically, doctors say two type of people snore. When the color of the size of the collar or the neck passes size 17, they say sometimes that's where you snore. Or in a way that as you cannot speak your word, your emotion, you try to mix the two together, and your body speaks for it. Karen has got a very nice way of explaining this usually. In a way, we are imprisoned within our emotion, and we try to explain when it's injustice to us, the body cannot handle it. And in so many ways, I cannot stand injustices of man to man for a long time. And I snore, half of the city wakes up. As Caroline says, I cut the woods around the world, but I can't talk my piece to people who cause the problems. My problem runs with the world leaders and people who are in power, not with the man, because the mankind is something I can handle more or less. She's back.
Mr. Kim, but you said the reason for snoring, it has to do with the emotion and the soul last time.
When we cannot stand, mainly comes from injustice. It comes from injustice. It's part of, maybe we cannot stand injustices. You can be a 5-year-old and you snore. You can be an 80-year-old and don't snore. It's how we handle. You have to understand where the voice comes from, where the noise comes from. And it's a way of breathing. We breathe to adjust for the losses of the soul of the man, or the indirection of emotion. Because we did not get what we wanted to elevate the soul. So we try to match up with what the lung needs to pass the energy to the emotion of the physicality through the blood. And there are different ways of snoring. And you can usually tell what it is.
Well, I think that wraps it up with snoring. Maybe it's a good time to have a nap.
I hope so. We hopefully try to explain more in the depth of the knowledge. Now that we understand the position of now you understand you can even replicate emotions, and you can replicate or elevate certain emotions. And now you understand, when in part of the teaching some times ago I said we come to the point to erase even the sense of killing in the man. Because when you elevate the soul, that part moves out of the physicality of the man and will never come back. With it, will change the RNA and DNA of the man. If you can move the emotion of the killing out of the physical boundary of the man, that becomes outside, will not come through the physicality of the man. And that goes through a specific way. Maybe in the next few weeks we'll teach. Anyway, thank you very much for today. I hope we learned it, and it'll be nice if you can hear what you started with again as your exit video, please. Phil, are you there?
Hello? Sorry, you wanted what again, Mr. Keshe?
I asked if Flynn can play the video we started with from
Lisa?
Lisa.
Sure.
Now maybe when you listen to it, you'll have you understand maybe more about what it is. Very interesting.
It is. It's a good continuing topic, this idea of going to space and the various different methods, ways that can happen.
Yeah, you can go to space by fields, or you can go to space by plasma. Which one you want me to take you with? Or you can go by the spaceship, or you can have an aircraft.
And the
please
analogy.
do not buy pardon?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I said, do not buy a spaceship which is made by the company very recently.
The one that's about to go out of business, you mean?
Yeah, that's the one. We cannot mention names. Yeah.
No, but it starts with
the program is wrong. There's nothing wrong with the craft. They couldn't get the soul and the emotion together in their computerized system.
To be or not to be. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
All the
Keshe.
best, and see you next week.
Okay, well, thank you everybody for attending today's Knowledge Seekers Workshop, the 273rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for April 25th, 2019. And we'll see you next week with the next Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Bye for now.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
One of the things to consider when we speak about going to space is what do we define the space as? And what do we see or what we consider as a space? We take a space in our physical body on this planet, and at the same time, within the structure of our physical body, there is another dimension of life which we call the soul of the man. And even though it lives within the space dimensions of the body of the man, has its own life and has its own line of communication. And what we define space, going to space, we already know the inner sanctum, or the creator of our physicality, travels the depth of the universe, has been the space travel all the time, has a line of communication with other parts of us, be it through dream we call it, or through subconscious, some people they call it, or we have the choice that physically move the physicality with its soul. In a way, we have a bird caged in the physicality of the body of man, and that bird is called the soul of the man. We can open that cage and let it loose at the point of death. When the operation of this cage rots away, and it cannot hold together, and this beautiful bird becomes free. Still, it takes life in the universal dimension, because it has a life. It exists on its own. Or we can carry the cage in a box and take it anywhere. I can take a bird cage in the car, I can take a bird cage in my hand and walk around the park. It doesn't change the entity and existence of that bird. It's still a bird, still sings, still communicates with other birds in the park. And this is how our soul is. So we give option. Those who understand the process of the creation can take that cage, that bird, out of the cage and free it, because we trusted it come back in. It's very much when you have a parrot at home, you open the door, you let him fly around the house, and he comes back again and he goes in the cage. Because you trust it. It knows that's where it belongs to. And this is the process that we have made an option to man. The soul of the man is that bird, but is encaged in physicality of body of man. And for the first time, man knows, man can see that it's him who hasn't trusted the bird to be freed. And it has come the time that he does not need to see the cage to break up, to rust, that the bird can fly out, or by accident open the cage's door is open and the bird flies out. That accident is when we die on the street. The bird cage opens up. That bird still gets freed. But now we are teaching how the man has control over this door of the cage. And he trusts that the soul will come back to the body. Or the bird will stay, that it can create that atmosphere of the home, the cage. This is the problem we have, and this is what we call it different ways of traveling. But to be able to free that bird without accident, or when the cage cracks, rust, and we call it death, we are teaching how to be able to control, to trust that that bird, when we release it, can come home, or can make a home that we can go to. When my children were young, 4 or 5 years old, they wanted a bird, a cockatoo. I bought them a cockatoo. And this bird in the cage was very young, a few weeks old when we got him. And we used to let it free in the house. He knew he goes back in and he sleeps there and he lays egg there. And it came to the point, because of the diseases carried, we had to, the doctors told us, this bird cannot stay in the house because it's causing problem in the house, health problems. So we decided that we loved the bird. We didn't want to let it go, it was part of us. So we decided If you let it free, it will die because he didn't know how to look after himself because he was hand-fed. We decided we'd take him to a sanctuary and we give it to a sanctuary to be kept. We carried the cage across a park, and as we were walking to go to the sanctuary in the park to be given to them, an old lady saw us. She says, "Oh, what a beautiful bird." We said, "We have a problem, we love him, but if you leave him here, we don't know if you see him." She says, "I'll look after it, give it to me. You can come and see it anytime you like." And it was just like a gift. So we got the old lady in the car, we went to her house, we put the cage there, we showed them how to look after the bird, and the bird was free again in the room. And every now and then, children said, "Papa, can we go and see him?" So we called the lady, we go and see him, and the bird is there. And it was a new home, it was our home. And this is how the soul of the man should be. Is trusting that where he goes, he can make a home for us. So in this process, we are teaching different ways of freeing the bird or carrying the cage. The bird is still there. If you want to carry a cage and go somewhere, you get in the car. That's your spaceship. Still the cage is there and the bird inside. The cage is the body of the man and the bird is the soul of the man. Because we haven't trusted that we get the bird back. We carry the cage in the spaceship. Or there is another line of teaching, which is the understanding the structure of the cage, that you can make the cage not to rot, that then it frees the bird, but it can open up and you can carry the bird is free, you don't need to fuel it, you don't need to do anything, it travels the space of the room, the space of the garden, the space of the city, and it comes back home again. In a way, when we teach about the soul of the man, is in getting the man to trust himself. And to trust himself, he has to become detached. He has to come detached from physicality, detached from the wealth, detached from everything else. That the wealth is within me, not belonging to me. And this is where every man makes a mistake. In many of the teachings I have referred, if you understand that you can put the soul of the man to act with the soul of physicality of the man, you can make anything you like. The soul of the man is the sun, and the soul of physicality in the palm of the hand of the man is the earth. You move it in the direction, you create water, you create food, but you don't need to have it. It creates the energy that the physicality of the man can absorb. We give the earth in the hand, in the palm of the man. He creates what he needs, he takes what he needs from it. Then, if you understand this, you allow the soul of the man to carry the soul of the physicality of the man with it, and whenever it comes, it makes that hand, that palm, 1,000 meter, 1 meter, in a cage of physicality or in a cage of non-dimension. So, it's not methods of flight, it's the method of man understanding his own potential, his own grace. So, because we have so many people who are so physically attached, we teach about the spaceship for years. This is what it was. They still wanted to see they can get into something. But, as I said, I teach for the universe, not for the man. What we teach in the dimension of soul of the man, many travelers of the universe which hear the soul of me are educated, they understand what they missed. But, as this is the last time we bring a messenger on earth, we teach everything for mankind to carry. All the rules are in the book. There shall be no more messengers. is for man to translate knowledge. Scientifically, and then through the understanding of the soul of the man. What we call theology, ethics. Ethics of using the science in a way that does not harm no one, but it implies and applies the survival of the others. I was talking about this a few days ago, that there is a paper written by me, the station of the scientist as a prophet. The prophets we call Muhammad, Christ or anybody, are for the soul of the man, conduct of the behavior. Scientists like beautiful Tesla and others are to elevate the same, but the physicality of the man. This time we have put the two together in one go, then there is no difference. We teach the ethics, the soul conduct and physicality. It's for the man to understand where the two merge and when it's needed to be done. The totality which counts, not the individuality. What you can serve counts, not what serves you. So, in this way, if you are physical, we have given you the spaceship, all these reactors. If you have moved in the dimension of understanding part of it, you have the dynamic system, you get some energies, you put a glass of water, you mix the energy and something else together, you're still the camel bird. You put the orange, take the energy, but you still want that the physicality that you're doing something with it, you drink the water. And for the soul of those who understand the totality, then they don't need the cage. They're the free bird. And this is the essence of all the teaching. It's not different ways of flight, it's understanding the existence of the universe. Then, if you travel with a spaceship, who do you see? The citizens of the universe in a physical dimension. If you travel with the soul, that you can create the physicality, you take that out of the equation. You travel, but you know you have connection with everybody. It's very much, as I said once, it's like you get off out of London and you go to New York. You're there on your own, but you still pick your phone and speak to the family in London. It's not finished. Now, the soul of the man, given the man the same opportunity. We teach for the time to come, and we teach from now till that time to come. And that time comes, is not anymore the end of the world, something will happen. It's the maturity of the one's understanding of his own creation.